And that breaking news, decades in the making. A car believed to belong to the Martin family pulled up from the Columbia River just moments ago. The Martin family missing since 1958, one of Oregon's greatest mysteries.
I have up a picture of Anne Sullivan. She was a reporter for the Oregonian. She's standing at a cliff overlooking the Columbia River in November of 1967. That is the site where she always believed that the Martin family vanished in 1958. Sullivan investigated the case for decades, and she was convinced the family's car had plunged into the water below. As we found out just recently, she was correct. When Deanne Sullivan heard about a 1954 Ford that had been found at the bottom of the Columbia River, her first thought was of her late mother. Anne Sullivan died in 2008 at the age of 89, but she spent years thinking about what happened to a Portland family that disappeared on December 7th of 1958. On that day, Kenneth and Barbara Martin and their 3 daughters climbed into the family car and drove off into the Columbia River Gorge to collect Christmas greenery. They never returned. The bodies of the 2 daughters were discovered in the Columbia River nearly 5 months later. But despite extensive and repeated search efforts spanning over decades, neither the car nor the other 3 family members were ever found. It was all shock to the Oregonians, for the Martins were the kind of family anyone who would wanted for neighbors. Kenneth Martin would carve 4-foot-tall wooden candy canes and hand them out at Christmas. His and Barbara's daughters were known as being polite and kind. The disappearance also proved a compelling story to newspaper and magazine readers across the country. They all wondered how a normal, seemingly all-American family could just vanish into the wind. The mystery plagued many people, from the family's friends to determined police officers to armchair researchers. But few among them were as committed to finding the truth as Anne Sullivan, a reporter for the Oregonian who was amongst the first to write about the case in the newspaper. And she was a reporter that was obsessed with this case. Her daughter said that she couldn't head east into the gorge without her talking about it. As the child of a determined reporter, Deanne Sullivan, who is now 70 years old, grew up surrounded by fascinating, often tragic stories. But the Martin case always stood out because of its mystery and horror. Anne Sullivan was 39 years old at the time of the Martins' disappearance. She was committed to the story from the start. She was there on December 10th on Larch Mountain, where she wrote that slim leads had dissolved into nothing. She was there for the discovery of other clues that led to investigators down unexpected, ultimately fruitless paths. And there she was again on the front page on March 5th of 1959, after the daughters' bodies turned up in the river. Police believed the disappearance likely was the result of a car accident, a wrong turn sending the 5 family members into the river. But that explanation struck many people as just too simple. In 1967, Anne Sullivan read the county sheriff's office's full file on the cold case. Then she interviewed every witness and revisited every important location. With that reporting, she came to believe that the Martins family disappearance was not an accident. The potential evidence that brought her to this conclusion included tire tracks in a remote, difficult-to-access area that led to a precipice, prompting speculation that the Martins' car had been taken there and purposely driven off the edge and into the river. There also was a report from river drill workers in 1959 that claimed they had accidentally pulled up a heavy object they believed was a car near the Dalles, right before it slipped off of their snare and sank. Plus, there was a slew of other tantalizing but circumstantial evidence, like a stray glove found in a parking lot, or a stolen car and gun that were found near Cascade Locks. Anne Sullivan wrote about her suspicions in 1986, nearly 30 years after the family went missing. She titled the headline, "Cold Waters of the Columbia Cradle Secrets Closely." The fate of the E. Kenneth Martin family still haunts this writer, especially on the drives up the gorge, for I am convinced I know where the car is. The veteran reporter retired from the Oregonian in 1993 without any answers to the mystery that haunted her. She held on to and treasured a relic for days, reporting on the family's disappearance. One of the family Martin neighbors had gifted her a wooden candy cane made by Kenneth Martin many years before. Anne took that candy cane out every Christmas and she put it up on her porch. Deanne Sullivan kept the candy cane after her mother's death. It was important to her mother and it meant something unfinished. And so it was important to Deanne too. After her mother's death, Deanne Sullivan often didn't display the wooden candy cane during the holidays, but late last year, for some reason, she remembered it, and it felt important to her to pull out that item at the storage and just put it out. And she thought, in an almost spiritual way, the candy cane could serve as a beacon for the family to be found after all these decades. Christmas passed, but she left the candy cane on the porch. Then, in March, came the shocking news. A diver may have found the missing car her mother had obsessed over for decades. On March 7th, contractors hired by the Hood River County Sheriff's Office pulled the car chassis out of the Columbia River near Cascade Locks. And we did previously watch the footage of this. Very interesting. We kind of delved back a little bit into the history of it, so you might want to go back and watch that. I'll put it at the end of the video. The car's location near Cascade Locks, and not by the Dells, where Anne Sullivan believed it had gone into the water, lent support to the original police theory that the Martins had accidentally driven into the river. It thus cast serious doubt on the theories of potential foul play that had consumed many Oregonians, including Anne Sullivan. Her daughter Deanne recently unearthed a box with documents her mother had kept from the Martin case, and it was full of police reports, photos, story drafts, and newspaper clippings. Sitting at her kitchen table, surrounded by documents and black and white photos from the case, including several photos of her mother standing by the Columbia River, Deanne imagined what her mother's response would have been to the Martin car being found today. She said her mother would have been excited, like any other journalist would have been to learn the truth. She would have loved to write that closing chapter. In my previous video, where we watched the car being pulled from the river and we went and looked back at old footage and interviews and whatnot, it was really interesting diving into all of that. And it kind of got us excited. Like, I don't know, it was like a mystery, a cold case being solved all these years later. And then there was a big letdown because while everyone else seemed so excited, the sheriff's office was so not excited. Like in their interviews, they were just blah. It just didn't seem there was a lot of passion there for this case. And it may be that they just have a lot of other things on their plate, and that's why, but more pressing crimes. Because after all, this is a very old cold case. And it's quite possible that if there was any kind of foul play, that anyone who was involved in that may no longer even be alive today. So it was really disappointing when the Hood River County Sheriff's Department said that they weren't going to recover the remaining portion, the most important portion, the body of the car where 3 Martin family members' bones may still be. But there's still hope. And honestly, I kind of saw this coming. I was like, wait a minute, this guy spent too much time on this just to go, oh, okay, we're done. Archer Mayo was the diver who found it. And he was passionate enough about it to where he convinced the sheriff and everyone else to get involved to try to pull the car up. Okay, but here's the problem. He explains it that this car's been down there since 1958. So it's basically the body of the car, it's upside down. So when they were pulled out the chassis, they're talking about the wheels, the base of the car, right? But you still have the body of the car that is sunk and covered and almost like, you know how when something goes into the mud and it just kind of gets sucked in? This car is sucked into the mud down at the bottom of the river. So, in order to pull it out, it may have to be done in pieces, and it's going to have to be done in a delicate manner. You can't just go, okay, we're going to dig around it and just pull it up. And this is why the sheriff's office didn't want to spend any more time and money on it. So Archer Mayo said, okay, look, if I can get the public to help me pay for this, he set up this GoFundMe. And the title of the GoFundMe is Campaign to Recover the Martin Family Car. In December of 1958, the Martin family, 2 parents and 3 of their daughters, took a holiday drive from Portland an hour east to Hood River. They were never seen again. After a 6-year search, I found their lost car in the Columbia River at Cascade Locks. It was buried 7 feet beneath the riverbed, and local authorities attempted to recover the car in March of 2025. But because of time and budget constraints, they were only able to bring up the car's chassis. The body of the car and its content are still left deep under the river. In cooperation with authorities, I want to lead a private effort to recover the remainder of the car and its contents. The divers will volunteer their time, but support staff will be paid. I am intimately familiar with this part of the river and the car's condition. I believe that with proper planning and methodical execution, the car body can be removed from the river bottom along with any remains inside of it, and then we can deliver it over to the authorities, finally and definitively solving the Martin family mystery. This effort will be difficult and slow. It will require the following custom designed tools, pumps, and apparatuses for freeing the car's body. 1. A custom external frame with which to lift the car safely to the surface in an intact manner. 2. Fuel for the dredge pump. 3. Compressed air for the divers. 4. Safety equipment. 5. Pay for the assistants managing the equipment on the boat. While there is never a guarantee of success in this difficult and dangerous environment, I have seen enough of the car to believe that there are human remains and personal property that can be recovered safely and successfully. Join the team and help us bring the remaining members of the Martin family home and help definitively close one of Northwest's oldest cold cases. I get creeped out by this stuff. I could never be a diver and do this. It just creeps me out. Look, if I'm in a river and I know that there's like a sunken ship or even just a small boat, anything below my feet, if I know it's there, if I won't go in. I don't know why it creeps me out. It just does. And I used to swim the canal all the time growing up. I hope they get the funds. As you'll see here, his goal for this is only $7,000, which is actually surprised me. I thought it would be a lot more than that. I just feel like the locals are going to donate enough. I don't know. Maybe there will be somebody come in and just say, okay, we're going to top off the costs. Now, this was set up, let's see. When did he set this up? This is fairly new. So they've raised $490 so far out of the 7K. Not that many. When did this start? Why isn't there a date on this? Okay. So this was only created 2 days ago. I see. I had to look really closely. I had to go all the way down to the bottom. It's not, the date on here doesn't like jump out at you, and hopefully there's going to be somebody local come in and just kind of top off what's left and needed to get this done. $7,000 is not a lot of money if there's a bunch of people chipping in here and there. If you think about the size of a community chipping in $25 a piece, hopefully they'll be able to come up with it. And when they do, I would like to be there and continue to follow this with you guys. We found this so interesting from the get-go as it came out. So I do see it happening. I do have an alert set up to notify me when any new information comes out, and I'll keep you guys updated. In the meantime, I appreciate those of you who share a fascination with me about this case. Until the next one, stay safe, be well, and have a blessed day. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and feel free to leave a comment. Have a blessed day.